charter school serving nearly 700 children. He served as the founding principal for the first 5 years of the organization's history and transitioned into an executive director role when the second campus opened, a position he still holds today. In December of 2021, after nearly a year of co-design efforts with a group of incredible parent leaders in the Commerce City community, University Prep was approved by the local Board of Education to open its third campus as part of Adams 14 School District. He was deeply involved in the chartering process for the new UPrep school and has continued to oversee the network of schools inside and outside of Denver that will soon grow to 3. Andrea Thompson is a 3rd and 4th grade teacher at Dream Dene Charter School in Shiprock, New Mexico. She's a Teach Plus Fellow, a passionate educator, and community leader from the Dene tribe. She's also Vice President of the Navajo Nation Board of Education. Ms. Thompson is an educator who believes that students of all cultural and socioeconomic backgrounds deserve access to excellent educators and high-quality instruction within their own communities. Coming from a family of educators and school administrators, Ms. Thompson has a true passion for teaching and preparing the next generation of learners. She feels very privileged to work in her home community and enjoys helping her students to excel outside of the classroom setting as an elementary cross-country coach and a middle school robotics team mentor. In addition to helping children, Ms. Thompson is committed to empowering teachers and parent advocacy to help improve education in New Mexico. Recently, she was recognized by the New Mexico House of Representatives for significant achievements to the community. Congratulations to all of our Changemakers. Now I would like to ask Mr. George Parker to join us to moderate our panel discussion. Mr. Parker is the Senior Advisor at the National Alliance with a focus on school support and a distinguished educator and expert on teaching and school governance. Mr. Parker spent 30 years as a math teacher and educator in DC Public Schools and served as president of the Washington Teachers Union. Mr. Parker, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Melissa, and good morning, everyone. Before I get started, I'm going to ask Nina to come up, and Representative Lendo is here, and we'd like you to introduce her. All right, Nina.
Thank you so much, George. So it is now my great honor to introduce to you Representative Letlow from the great state of Louisiana. Ms. Letlow serves on the House Education Workforce Committee and on the Appropriations Committees. And in these roles, these are the key roles you need in order to support charter schools and charter school funding. Ms. Letlow, we'd love for you to come up here and give us some welcoming remarks and anything else that's on your mind. She has 5,000 students and roughly 10 charter schools in the district.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And wow, what an honor and a privilege to be with all of you today, especially our educators and teachers. And I think you know this about me, that I am passionate about education. It's my background. I believe, I know I'm singing to the choir here. I believe it is the answer to everything. It's the answer to so many of our woes. And I am just so grateful to you for what you do day in and day out to educate our next generation of leaders, to educate my Jeremiah over here. I'm just so proud and grateful to you. And wherever I go, whoever I speak to, I tell them, thank a teacher today. Take time out of your day to say thank you. Because not only has these past 3 years been really hard on you, and I acknowledge that, but your lifetime you've committed to be selfless and serve others. And I'm just incredibly grateful to be a representative for you, to be a champion for you. My background is in higher education, so I know that I have a lot to learn about charter schools, but I'm just so grateful for you for partnering with me and teaching me more about how I can be a better advocate for you and be a champion for you. And please know this too, on that appropriation seat, I plan to use every second of it to continue to fight for funding for you. I believe you educate a child, you give them a future. I tell my colleagues all the time, we believe in education from every level, early childhood, K through 12, our trade schools, community colleges, all the way to our 4-year institutions, and a graduate degree if someone so desires. So please know that you have a champion in me. Call on me anytime. But again, this is not about me. It's about you. It's about what you're doing for our children. I am indebted to you. I'm grateful to you. God bless you all. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Representative Ludlow, and we appreciate all that you're doing to support charter schools. So, look at this all-star panel. You know, those of you who are NBA, like the NBA, you know, they have the all-star game. This is our all-star team. It's a quite a team, isn't it? Let's give them another hand. So one of the things that we want to know from this panel, you know, you are some awesome teachers. And I can tell you today is a happy day for me. Having taught school for 30 years, is to see this all-star team here. And I'm just as excited as everyone else here is to learn what you have to say about education, the strategies that you use, and et cetera, at your school. So we're going to get right on with it. Our first question for the panel is going to be a little more personal. We want to ask you, number one, how did you come to be a teacher? And then more specifically, a charter school teacher. So what drew you to charter schools and what drew you to the teaching profession? And Andrea, we're going to start with you.
Is it on? Okay. Good morning, jag är Andrea Thomas Initiativ för Island. Så det var the reason I became an educator is to help to for our students, our Indigenous students, to know their identity. Coming from a family of educators, this is really important for our students to know who they are and to believe that they have an opportunity to make an impact in their lives. And so that's what led me to become an educator and into a charter school. Gave me the opportunity to be in a school that allowed the flexibility and the opportunity for us to be embraced in a learning environment that allowed them to their culture and their language to be the center around that. So I appreciate the opportunity for charter schools to give students that opportunity.
Okay, listen.
Well, I come from a long line of educators, so I knew without a shadow of a doubt I would never be a teacher. And fast forward, the firm I was working at began a partnership with a local school, volunteering to help tutor the students. And I was tutoring the students, and I would see the light bulb come on. I was like, this is kind of cool. I kind of like this. So after much internal searching, I decided I would go ahead and join the family business and become a teacher. And my children were already attending charter school, and I noticed that the innovative and individualized lessons my children would bring home and share with me that they not only had the light bulb come on, but they were also able to extend that light bulb and apply it to different parts of their life. And so it was just a natural fit for me working at charter school.
Awesome. And we were talking earlier and kind of had the same experience, right? We both were math majors, And neither one of us in our vision planned to be a teacher. And it just happened to be by experience that we became teachers. I wanted to be an entertainer. I just knew I was supposed to be next to Michael Jackson. But it didn't work out that way. And as a substitute teacher, I was substitute teaching, and I came home and it's like, wow, I like it. No, I don't. No, I don't. But I tell you, we have to have the same way that it's a calling, and that when you enjoy working with students and you love it, you can't resist it. Okay, let's see who's next. That would be, Miss Cielo.
Okay, I like the Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, my name is Cielo Acosta, and I'm a current 8th grade language arts teacher at SLAM Miami. So although you had asked 2 questions, I do feel that for me, the 2 questions kind of go hand in hand. The reason that I started to teach, and the reason that I started to teach, let alone at a charter school, is because I'm actually a SLAM alumni, which is an alumni from the school that I currently teach at. At a very early age, I met Mr. Bretto, which is currently in the room, along with some other administrators, and I didn't have a sense of direction, and they were able to provide that for me. They were able to provide a sense of hope. And I saw how impactful and moving that was for me and who I am as a professional. And I couldn't wait to experience that and allow to give that to other students as well.
Awesome.
I always loved children. My whole life when I was a child, I loved littler children. Babysat, taught Sunday school, the Jewish version. And I went to school to study mathematics, like my 2 colleagues here, and I thought we had a numeracy problem. We talk a lot about illiteracy in America, but we have math incompetence in our country. Thought I could maybe fix that problem, right? You're 21 and you're quite ignorant, and you think you can fix the world's problems. Still trying. But I really thought we could fix a numeracy, and I started teaching high school mathematics and poured my heart and soul into it. Still love that profession, and realized that 15 was too late for kids to be on a path to science and engineering, and quite frankly, economic mobility, because the STEM fields is where you make money. It's where you're desired in the workforce. It's where you can transform generational poverty issues. And said, what if we did this when you were 5 instead of 15? And charter schools were the vehicle for social entrepreneurship. If charter schools didn't exist, there would not have been a pathway to found a school alongside of families and community, right where I taught high school, and say, we're just going to work with you, with the 5-year-old version of you. And here we are, 14 years later from an idea, 12 years from opening, and our first graduates who are first grade in 2011 are walking the high school stage, and 81% are on path to success in post-secondary. So the idea that social entrepreneurship can exist in the education space, in the public education space, charter schools were the only vehicle to bring about the change that we saw necessary in our community. And I'm grateful that the law ever existed in 1993, and we're here today.
It's really hard to go after David. So I'm Jamar Roundtree, 2023 DC Teacher of the Year. Just want to make sure we're clear on that here at my home. So I got into teaching. Really, I wanted to. I had a Mr. Parker. Not this Mr. Parker, but I had a Mr. Parker who was also sub. So it's very ironic when we were talking. I was like, are you sure you're not related? But Mr. Parker was the one who inspired me, who gave me the faith in teachers, because I didn't have that faith when I was in 6th grade. And so that gave me the faith in teachers to respect the profession. And I had always seen myself as a mentor when I was younger. I started off, I was a Boys and Girls kid, Boys and Girls Club kid. And so I grew up around individuals who was always trying to put me on the right path, but couldn't do it. And so I wanted to be that change maker for my students. And charter schools gave me the autonomy to do that. They gave me the opportunity to be able to bring not only my passions to life, but also my students' passions to life.
I want to do a question with you having been the DC Teacher of the Year, but also being a Black male, and in the area of physical education. It's been quite a while since we've had a black male that has been Teacher of the Year in the area of physical education. Talk to us just a little bit about that accomplishment.
Yeah, not many people know that in the National Teacher of the Year program, there has never been a physical education teacher to have ever won. And I am the first to ever win as a Black educator and as physical education to ever be a finalist. So I am honored and humbled to be that trailblazer that now puts physical education and health on the map for teachers, not only in the district, but across the nation.
Awesome. Okay, Nathaniel. Coach Dunn.
Good morning. My name is Nathaniel Dunn. I'm from I-3 Academy in Birmingham, Alabama. The reason I wanted to be a teacher is because I can remember my mom always told me, you need to be a teacher. And I often thought that. I thought it was something else that I could be good at. But I enjoy helping people, making people better because I was taught that way. People made me better, and it made me want to pour back into my students. Michael Jackson once said, the best way to receive success in life is by watching and seeing. And I had the opportunity to do that in this profession, starting from being an assistant, and just by watching and seeing other teachers and picking up on things that they deliver very well and adding it to my craft. It encouraged me and it inspired me to want to be myself. There was one time when someone said, you want to be a teacher? You should be a teacher, but whenever you hear that type of conversation, that's something that you need to tap into. I enjoy working with children. I enjoy seeing the best out of them. And as far as a charter school has been very instrumental for me because it's allowed me the freedom to be able to teach again. Without the pressure, I enjoy it. And one thing that our school leader told us once, he said that working at a charter school is not easy. And that always inspires me on days that are hard because this is a real job and we see it every day. This is something that we enjoy doing. This is something that we need support in. And we want to continue to do that.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. And Tiffany.
Sorry, I have to share. Sharing's caring.
They were kind enough to give me like a month's notice versus
Growing
last
up,
week where I had 2 days.
through my childhood, we moved around a lot, but my one stable, safe space was school. I loved going to school. I loved the connections I made. I was very thankful for the educators that I did have because they inspired me with the classroom environments that they made. They made me realize how fun it is to learn, how important it is, how to care for people, how to be a kind and just genuinely a good person. And so I always knew I wanted to be one going through high school. And then I got to college and then I was like, oh, there's little people. Those little people are very interesting. They are so honest and forthcoming with themselves and they have so much to give. And so what I love about the charter school aspect is that there is a freedom, as many of my colleagues up here have said, to be able to do the best for them. I have so many children in my class from various diverse backgrounds. I have children who have various needs, differing from person to person. Some need more help than others, and it's important to teach all of them how to help each other. And so that is what I love about my charter school is that we're a community and we work together and we hold each other up.
Awesome. Awesome.
Navigate in two worlds, as we say it, as Indigenous people, but also to go out of our 4 sacred mountains, as we say, outside of our tribal communities and become leaders themselves.
Wow. Awesome. Okay, and now this would be this side.
Well, I would tell my legislators that we need a Harvard Law Review of education. There are a lot of teachers out there doing really great things, and as a teacher, I would like to know those things because I truly believe that as a teacher, it is my job to educate every child in my classroom where they need to be educated, in the way they need to be educated. And so to know what every teacher is doing would give me like a toolbox of supplies that I can pull out as I see which child needs what. I mean, if you think about screwdrivers, not one screwdriver will do every job. And so as a teacher, I would say we just need lots of educational tools of what's proven to work in the classroom to make our classroom better.
Taylor.
It is my personal belief that additional resources can be extremely beneficial to schools. As you guys know, unfortunately, our education system is experiencing a teacher shortage. So with additional resources, our administrators would be able to provide competitive salaries that can increase the retention of teachers. In addition to that, additional funding can also help diversify and inclusify the instruction that teachers provide their students. With that being said, I also think that the additional funding could be beneficial to engage and include parents within the community because I believe it all starts from home.
David?
Yeah, I echo my colleagues. I look forward to working with Harvard. Well, I've done one, we have to do anything and everything to elevate the profession. I think we are failing miserably as a country to elevate the teaching profession as a profession. That means real salaries and real money and homeowners and communities who are educators. We can't diversify the workforce and say, I know you've taken on all this debt as a person of color and you're trying to get out of abject poverty and here's $45,000 to be a teacher. It's a mismatch between the dollars and what we say matters. So we have to fix that problem. That's number one. And then number two is we can't have any infighting about pathways to teaching. Colorado started this year with 3,000 teachers missing from classrooms. And we want to argue about licensing approaches. I don't care what the approach is. Find great people, get them in classrooms, support the hell out of them, and then hold them accountable to excellence. While you love them simultaneously, and if they don't work out, that's okay. That happens in lots of professions. But we have to have the widest funnel humanly possible to attract talented individuals to be in our schools. We can't minimize the funnel, we have to maximize it. So one, we got to figure out the dollars, and two, we got to figure out how to flood our classrooms with excellence from every walk of earth across our country and make sure our kids have the strongest professional educators in front of them.
Always have to say, right, funds is always gonna be the issue, but I'm gonna come from the other standpoint of enrichment. I'm gonna come from the standpoint of, the arts and physical education and elevating that as a profession and making sure that is also on the minds of our individuals who are making those choices, putting those policies in place, because we forget how important positions like mine are in the community, in our school culture, and the way that we interact with our parents, and how we do a lot of that work behind the scenes, and how a lot of that work that needs to be elevated and be seen, as well as we're saying, ELA and math need to be elevated, but enrichment programs also need to be elevated, and we also need to be seen and heard.
Awesome. Nathaniel.
I have 4 words. Again, like my colleague, teachers need more pay. I guess I'm here for advocating for my colleagues and my coworkers. I see the look in their faces. They work extremely hard. This is the hardest working group of individuals I have ever worked with in our charter school. They show up every single day, and I think they should be rewarded and compensated for that. They do go above and beyond, doing things the way, they're the mother, the father, the grandmother. We play so many roles where it's extremely important, and we all have the same goal. We want the best for the children. Also, I think that if I were talking to our administration, our local representatives, I feel that we need more programs in place for parents to help parents, assist parents in helping their children throughout their educational journey. Because we can only we do a lot as teachers, but they do go home, and they need to have that same empowerment at home. They need to have the same fulfillment that they're getting at school at home. Not saying that all homes don't do that, but there are times as a teacher, you notice things. And as an educator, I do realize that that's one program that needs to be in place, something for the whole family.
Awesome. Tiffany?
I think they've said mostly everything. But I want to reiterate that teachers don't do this work for the recognition or like the spotlight of it all. We do it for our kids. And we're working nearly 10-hour days most of the time because we take our work home with us. I think about my students when I'm not at work. I think about them all the time. I hope that they're okay. I hope that they're happy, that they're safe. I work and think on the weekends when I'm doing my gardening program or I'm thinking of ways to improve the literacy program for my little ones. We need to be seen. There needs to be respect with that scene and not constant judgment because we're all human at the center of it all. And so I think everybody up here has made valid points. Pay, be seen, just, be kind.
So Tiffany, just in some of my outside conversations with you and Jabbar, you both talked about the importance of social emotional learning. I know that the Anji Play program focuses on that, and you and I had a conversation about what makes you successful, and we talked about the impact of social emotional communication with students. Could you talk about this just a little bit about how important that is in creating your success with students?
So as I've said, I work with little people, like 4 or 5 year olds. Emotions are a big deal. And in order to become like a functioning human being in society that like knows what their goals are, they know what their dreams are, they have all those seeds planted when they're little, but sometimes when someone takes your toy, you get real mad about it. And so you want to do something about it. So social emotional learning and problem solving skills and critical thinking skills, they all happen from the very start of school. And we need to be able to lift our children up in a positive way and not always constant reprimands on things that they're doing wrong. It's like, I see you. I see that you're frustrated, and that's okay. I see that you're sad. To our boys out there, it's okay to be sad. Make sure that they're acknowledged, that they're hugged, that they're embraced. Show them paths that they can take to do different things to solve their problem rather than try and get that toy back in a forceful way that ends in tears. But it's so important to your overall health. Like feeling good about yourself and knowing that you're a good person, that your self-worth is important. It starts from when you're very little too. So I just always push for that.
One thing I didn't mention that I teach preschool all the way to 8th grade, so I teach all 11 grades. So I definitely feel that, and the 3, 4, and 5 are my favorite grades to teach because they are so candid and real. And if everyone talked like a 3, 4, and 5-year-old, we'd have some, education would be at the top of the list for everyone. Yeah, I think we get that. One of the conversations that we had, Mr. Parker and I, was around the idea of respect. And so I teach respect as soon as I walk into the classroom. Day one of it's part of my procedure that I go through when I talk to my kids as 3-year-olds, when I talk to my kids as 8th graders. And we go through that kind of same program. I'll give you an example. We have a conflict corner in my gym. And so the conflict corner is a space where students can take other kids to have conversations. So if they did something to you, you take them to the conflict corner. And there's these 6 things that they have to accomplish when they leave while they're in the conflict corner. And then they can hug it out or fist pump or high five, however they want to end the solution or whatever solution they come to. But that's one avenue. Another avenue is that I have, that I started, when the kids come into my classroom, they pick up different colored clothespins that depict their emotions. So you have blue that represents sad, you have green that represents happy, And so kids are now walking around with clothespins that represent their emotions. And other kids can see that, other kids are feeling the way that they're feeling. And so now they're having even more conversations around why am I feeling this way? Or I see that you're feeling this way, so let's communicate. And that offsets when they're on the playground and they can pull a friend aside and say, I saw that you were sad in Coach Roundtree's class. We want to talk about it. Or I saw that you were happy. What do you do why are you so happy? Even having those conversations trickles off into the classroom. And now kids are being more social. Kids are using their emotions in the right way, as we were talking about. And they are being able to have better days because they are having these conversations, because they are talking to each other, and because they can not only acknowledge somebody else's emotions, but they can also communicate that to a teacher, to an adult. As we know, during the pandemic, our kids lost that. I saw that a lot of our kids lost the empathy to have conversation. They lost the emotion to take when someone takes something from you, how to deal with that emotion. And this is another way that kids can show their emotions, but have their emotions be heard, and then also express their emotions.
Awesome. I thought that was, it was good to do this, to focus on this question, because I find in a lot of my experience that we use terms sometimes in education that folks don't really get. And there's a lot of talk about social emotional learning. But the key is, what does that look like to the average person? When we're talking to parents, is we talk about social emotional learning, but you're putting examples here, and I think that's important. But that the social emotional learning is something that I think that as people understand it more, they will understand the need for it. Yeah. Okay, I think Andrea, and I think you, David, too, and a couple of people talked about we need to get out there, recruit, and et cetera, teachers. I was reading some data, I think it may be Ed Week, but it talked about the NEA had done a survey of teachers, and this was recently, I can't remember, maybe it was 22 or 23, but 55% of the teachers that they interviewed indicated that they were going to leave the profession early because of the workload, the stress, and et cetera. So with that in mind, we have a shortage of teachers. What are some of the things that you would recommend that school leaders and political leaders and decision makers in general could do to recruit, develop, and be sure to retain high quality teachers like yourself? Now this question would be for Tiffany, and we also give it to David, but if someone else wants to jump in, we're good on time. So if you can answer, and then if someone else wants to jump in, that's great, because I think that's an important question. How do we get teachers and then high quality teachers into this profession?
This is basically piggybacking off our last conversation, because children grow up into adults, and I think mental health is important for everybody. And this is kind of just an umbrella topic because there's so many raindrops that fall on the umbrella. You have financial needs, you have proper and lifelong lasting professional development learning, rather than things that get you by through a year or a few weeks, learning things like anti-bias education, like properly, and how to get those tools into your classroom. And also just letting us be heard. There are so many times where decisions are being made and it's not teachers making those decisions. And so I think that's very impactful, where like you say you want us to do a good job, and then you keep changing the way we're supposed to do our job. Let us be part of the conversation. I think that's a good place to start, to keep on good teachers, because if we feel seen and heard and respected, then we'll keep doing our darndest.
David, I want to just add a little touch to that same question for you, because you're a former teacher, but you are now a school leader. And so as a school leader, what are some of the things that you have implemented in order to try to attract and recruit and retain quality teachers?
That's a great question. First, just trust Tiffany and do what she says. I think is probably the number one thing we could do. I would say on the front end, one, you have to have a team environment in which everyone's rowing together. Everybody wants to work in a setting in which you're part of a united team. Same mission, same values, same beliefs, same attitude about kids. So you have to create a school setting in which that is true as a starting point. Without that adult culture component, anything you do is superficial and performative. So that's the first things first. But then I think it's about investing in and loving people. Everyone wants to work in a place where their manager cares about them, where they're seen, heard, and known and valued and invested in. And that is true in the education profession, no different than the private sector or nonprofit organizations outside of teaching. So a few things we think about that are different. We think about compensation differently. I think this generation will have 4 different careers on average by 32. Not 4 different jobs, careers. So as much as I love my fellow math teachers up here who've been doing the grind for a long time, 30-year math teachers in urban education are a dying breed. I wish that was not true, but I think it is the truth. And so you can't think of slow linear growth of compensation. So what we think about is, how do we exponentially increase your salary in your first 5 years to get you to a salary that is meaningful and valued? And then maybe we start to flatten it out a little bit later. But those first 5 years actually matter a lot more because there is no gold watch at 35. It won't exist. So we need to save money for a rainy day when you're in your 29th year teaching high school math. We need to pay you right now. So we think differently about compensation and what that curve looks like over time. I would say we have to have transparent and accessible pathways to leadership inside and outside of the classroom where you know, how do I grow? How do I move forward? Internal, external professional development, getting sent to Washington, D.C. Our teachers should be experiencing the same things that Deloitte goes, you're great, we're gonna do all these things for you, right? What do schools do? Here's a backpack. Here's our certificate painted out on paper that's not even matte, right? Like, not because schools don't want to do more because they can or haven't. We have to think differently about how we invest in people. We have a 5-year club at UPrep, University of Prep in Denver. Once you've done 5 years, you become a special part of this elite group. And we introduce you to the 5-year club with a giant check in the summer, and the family you've had the most impact on in your life as an educator comes and speaks about you. And then in the spring, we do this dinner. So we're at Cap Grill last week in Denver, music teachers, right? Talk about enrichment, right? At Cap Grill. We're in this special fancy room. Who's right outside of the room? The Phoenix Suns. So we're having dinner alongside Chris Paul. That's what it should feel like to be an exceptional educator, and it doesn't feel that way. And so when I say invest in people, love on people, that's the kind of thing I mean. And then it's other elements, whether it's how do we give you flex days that are not your PTO, but give you a chance to get your groceries, go to the doctor, maybe go to the bathroom if you're a teacher.
Yes,
So things like
especially when
typically
you're
gotta go to the
teacher,
bathroom. And then I think something we can work on with legislators that'd be huge is housing access. If the average house in Denver is about to be $1 million and you're making 52 grand, we got a mismatch. And so I think the pathway for folks in service industries, we are in a public service industry in education, teaching, nursing, fire professionals, fire safety, whoever you are, you need a different pathway to access home ownership, which creates generational wealth. And so I think there are processes and pathways we can create with our legislators to change housing if we can't fully change funding, which is another way to think about compensation differently.
Awesome. I'm glad that, and this may be the union leadership piece that we're talking now, but I'm glad to hear you talking about the money part, because very often when you talk to teachers and you bring up money, folks will say, well, you don't teach for money, you teach for the kids. And so it causes people never to really talk about what is the kind of professional income and compensation teachers deserve. So I'm glad to hear teachers like you talking about the fact that one of the problems in recruiting and retaining outstanding people is that we don't pay teachers enough. Very simple. So I'm glad to see strong teachers like you talking about it and encourage you to talk about it even more.
I just wanted to quickly add, we have 3 exceptional and fantastic male teachers up here winning this award this year, and that is phenomenal. We need more male educators, and we had a conversation this morning about how we think money is a big part of that because they don't see it as a worthy career because you don't get paid for it. You really don't. And so I think making that change will help diversify the teaching education pool of people wanting to pursue it.
Yeah. And I think, Nathan, you started out with 3 words. Was it 4 words? Or
4
words? 4
Teachers
words.
need more pay.
Yeah.
And to second or to add to that, there are, 2 Black male
Yes.
educators as the 2% that are educating our nation's kids.
I would like to add something. So with that, I think that in New Mexico, there was a teacher network that was started. And I feel like just with the teacher voice and adding that advocacy into the educational policies that are set, like bringing their voices to the table. And because a lot of what I've experienced or what I'm noticing is that what is set for students in the urban areas of some of our schools really hinders some of the flexibility or some of the things that we're able to do. But also it gives people the opportunity to hear from diverse populations from the students that they actually are serving. So I think that that's really important when it comes to policy.
That teacher voice piece you talk about is a very important piece. And I found that teachers feel that they want to have their voices heard. And you all feel the same pretty much, that that's one of the big recruitment pieces, is that teachers' voices need to be heard and they want to feel that they're valued. Okay, great. So we talked about retention. Now I want to talk a little bit about, there's a lot of talk and research has shown that there was student learning loss resulting from the pandemic. The question here is, what are some of the strategies that you would recommend that school leaders in general, whether it's at your school or just nationally, what are some of the things that you feel could be implemented in order for us to address the student learning loss that has occurred as a result of the pandemic? I want to ask, Andrea, Nathan, and Alyssa to respond to that, but also we do have time. Exactly. Anyone else who wants to jump in, you can jump in. Okay. Okay, Andrea, seems like we're back to you.
Okay, so I think for students, it's building a sense of community, allowing them to come into the school and feel that they belong, that despite the challenges they may have encountered before coming in, that they feel safe, they feel accepted, and know that their peers are understanding. And so that it depends on the teacher, and how you create that environment is critical. We talked about social emotional learning already, and I believe that that is something that I have noticed of our students who throughout our Navajo Nation really struggled during the pandemic. Were probably in remote learning a lot longer than a lot of schools, other schools. And as the students have returned, being able to feel, learning skills that should have been taught previously for them. And so getting them to come in, trying to teach them these critical thinking skills, these abilities to be able to communicate. How do you learn to socialize? I think that that was a really big part of building a classroom that's going to love learning, and building relationships, understanding the different needs of all of our students. As our charter serves kindergarten through 5th grade, and we have 2 grade levels in a classroom, and instead of focusing on the individual grade of the student, it's looking at what are the needs of those students, and how can we create a learning path for each individual student that will allow them to be successful if they can't read, and if there's a friend or if there's a student of one of their peers that is able to help and to support. I think that that's really important. So that's what I think would be very important, is just building relationships. You learn a lot through speaking with students, and then learning about and building a partnership with their families as well, and bringing them into that conversation as a way to really help them to move forward and to improve.
Okay, Nathan, what kind of strategies are you using in your classroom, and then maybe even at your school, in terms to address the learning loss?
I will say, first off, as we all know, the pandemic has exposed education. With that being said, there needs to be something in place where, for the whole child. In my classroom, I spend a lot of time building relationships. And I found with that, students are able to trust me more through FaceTime, text messages. I tell them to text me, check on me, and they do that. They hold me to it. I think that we need to invest more time as far as developing the entire child. With that being said, sometimes you have to go to a ball game. Sometimes you have to plan little events with them to get them to buy back into learning again. One of our favorite words in our classroom is grit. Around 1 o'clock, they get really tired. They do. They want to give up. And just developing that motivation. I think our students need to be motivated, just like you do. I know I do a lot better when I'm motivated. And I think our students don't receive that as much. They receive it from us, but there needs to be something in place where we can motivate the whole child. I had another thought. Also, in our classroom, we make sure we check on each other. We say, how's your heart? How are you feeling? How are you today? We do a feelings check-in every day. Again, through with learning in our classroom in education, we tend to, like I said, we get tired really fast. Just developing some type of strategy to be able to take more breaks, implement something that they enjoy. Also, we need to learn from them. I remember one time this year, it was very humbling. I asked my students, what will make me a better teacher to you? And, some of the responses that I received, it humbled me. I couldn't get upset or mad or anything like that. I just had to receive it and do it. And they responded a lot better.
Alyssa.
I know it sounds pat, but education. Students, as my colleagues have said, they need to know that we care about them. And if they know that we care about them, then they'll be more invested in what we tell them. And so, right now it is harder teaching because there are lots of educational gaps that must be addressed in order for students to be successful. I teach math builds on prior knowledge, and so I have to make sure they have that prior knowledge or they're going to continue to be lost. So we have an education session in which I help my students identify their career aspirations. And then we look at where mathematics skills fit into those career aspirations. And by getting them to internalize their desire to close that gap, it makes it easier for me to meet them where they are. And the autonomy of charter schools allows me to literally, if I need to go back to kindergarten to get them up, I can do that with them one-on-one or in small groups as needed. But they have the self-efficacy built within them that they want to get it because now they understand, oh, this is going to help me be what I want to be as an adult.
I know that there was some extra funding that was provided federally to help school districts try to overcome the learning loss. What have you experienced? And anybody can respond to this. What have you experienced in terms of the impact of those funding at your school? Have you seen additional resources or et cetera that could help you address the learning loss issues?
If you don't mind, I'll just answer particularly for our network, but to go back to the idea of what we are in our network are doing, one concept that we really instill is to fail forward, to teach kids resiliency, to teach kids that failing is okay. I think in a lot of schools, there is a stigma around failing, and that stigma rides our kids really hard. And that idea of if you fail, this will happen, and you can't come back from that, really does something to our kids. And I know it did something to me when I was growing up. Whenever I missed a shot or didn't catch a football, or I missed a tackle, or I'm a very bad multiple test taker. And so whenever I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna fail this, I just completely gave up. And so one concept that I teach my students is around failing forward, that you have to try in order to fail, and that sometimes you do fail, but what do you do after that? So teaching that resiliency. In my network, we've done a bunch of different things. We've created SEL programs, we've done tutoring programs, we've created math small groups for kids to come after school. We've done enrichment programs before school so that students not only are getting the ELA and math help that they so need, but they're getting it in a different way that meets their needs. And so that's one of the ways that we in my network have been using it.
And then talking about the impact of the pandemic and all on students, there seems to be now a significant increase in the number of mental challenges that students are having after the pandemic, and not just students, but the teachers and other school staff. What do you see? What are you doing, first of all, in your classrooms to address the mental challenges that students are confronting as a result of the pandemic, and in a larger sense, your schools? And what do you think we should be doing as a nation, pretty much, to try to address the mental health issues that students are not experiencing behind that? I want to ask Andrea, no, this is going to be Jamar and Cielo, but then anyone else who wants to chime in, let's chime in.
Please.
So something that I actually did to address the pandemic issues and the way that it's negatively impacted our students is I actually went into counseling. So besides teaching after school, I'm completing my graduate program about halfway done for school counseling. So with school counseling, it has provided me with a broader range of knowledge in the sense of being able to identify trauma, being able to identify anxiety, things like depression, to see what are the external and internal factors and motivators of our students. So it's been giving me the opportunity to understand them at a deeper level. Because I'm able to understand them at a deeper level, I'm able to differentiate and I'm able to individualize any kind of instructional plan within my classroom walls to ensure that I'm still fulfilling their needs, not only academically, but also emotionally as well.
I'm not a counselor, so good luck with that. No, I guess we as educators are all counselors in some sense, but to get to that next level is amazing. One of the things that I do in my classroom, and I spread that well, is we do something called restorative practices, restorative circles. And so this gives kids the opportunity to address issues they may be coming to your classroom with, or just issues that they may be feeling in their community. And I'm fortunate enough that I live in the community that I teach in, which is so impactful because whatever's happening in a neighborhood for that day, for that week, I also have experienced it and can talk to the truths of what's happening. And I think that's so powerful for our students to be able to relate. So restorative service is one way. I think giving students and teachers the space to be able to address the issues that they're coming to school with. We have a 24-hour or 48-hour rule where if a teacher's having some sort of either a traumatic situation or problem, even with a staff member, we have 48 hours to talk about it. But I think the other side is that teachers need that space to be able, and that safe space, and I say that safe space, because we say it's a safe space and then it's not a safe space. And that's huge, to be able to address issues that they're feeling. In the teaching profession, we hear a lot of no, but we don't tell our students no, right? So as professionals, we get the no from individuals who are calling the shots for us, but we don't tell our students no, and that needs to change. And we have to band together as teachers to be able to say that, because if one teacher's the outlier, right, a lot of teachers shed away from that outlier, so which means we're not saying the same thing together as a whole unit. And so that's some of the things that we're doing and some of the things that we could do to change the way that we are essentially being handled as teachers.
I wanted to add to that. In our classroom, we do a lot of huddle ups. giving children strategies to work out their own problems. They have to be shown. We have a lot of class meetings, several times a day, just to check on their hearts, see how they're doing, see how they can navigate through their problems. And with our huddle ups, it's almost like football. We'll have the team, our group of kids who are having a problem around each other, have one person on their knee explaining, saying what's going on. So giving them strategies, they actually get excited about it.
Awesome.
I'd like to add, in our district, we have what we call life-year attributes. And part of those attributes are being self-aware and globally conscious. And what we do though is we actually train our students in those attributes so that when situations come up, they know how to deal with them and how to act respectfully to others as they're dealing with the situation, as well as to deal with others who are also going through problems. And then we also model it, like in my classroom, I purposely make mistakes so the students can see how I respond. Like Jamar said, we have to teach them how to fail forward. It's okay to fail, but it's not the end of the game. And so that helps your mental abilities to keep going and know that I indeed am someone worth being in the world.
And the only thing I would build is I think we're demanding too much of our educators. Be the therapist, be the psychologist, be the social worker. Sorry, that was not an intentional joke. It's terrible. This is not the building to make that comment. That's just an error. I'm Canadian, but dual citizen. But I think what the educators up here are doing is incredible, right? When Nathaniel does in his classroom, what Coach Roundtree does, we could have a conflict corner in this building, it'd probably be helpful. So, but we were asking too much, and then it's too burdensome and too stressful, and you don't last. And so I think public partnerships, private-public partnerships in which mental health professionals are available to schools at a much higher rate, in person, as part of a community, representative of the student population being served, is incredibly important at the system level. So every school's access to mental health services that can respond quickly, can build relationships, don't operate on a school day. You visit with a family's home in the evening to work with the parents, because you're working with a child, you got to work with mom or dad or uncle or aunt. And so these system-wide issues can't solely be on the backs of teachers. We're asking too much. They're already doing enough. And so if we can have that kind of professional expertise and service coupled with the kind of approaches that educators in this panel are taking in their classrooms, then we actually see change. But right now, I think our approach is demanding too much of educators who are already stretched too thin.
And I would like to add, I think that at our school, our students attend Navajo language and culture, and that's something that I believe is really helping our students to really get through a lot of the challenges, singing songs in Navajo and the language, and we have a phenomenal Navajo educator or language teacher, and hearing them speak it, even for myself as an adult, I'm not a fluent speaker, but I can understand it, and there's a lot of meaning behind it of what can be spoken. And so that opportunity for our students to hear that, to learn more about their background, their culture, and then take that back into their home and share that with their families, I think is really important, and it's helping to heal both the child and the parents and the families themselves. So in their tribal communities and with other communities that have their languages that are not maybe something that is encouraged within the school systems, I think that would be something that would be very beneficial in helping people to heal.
Awesome. So we're almost ready to wrap up. This question is one that is kind of broad-based and philosophical, but I think it has a deep meaning. And that is, what is your hope for the teaching profession and for public education in general, for the future of public education? And if we have enough time, I have a follow-up to that. But I'd like for each of you just to respond to that as you look at where you are, your experiences, and what you would like to see in the future. What do you see? What is your hope for the future of the teaching profession and public education in general? And Andrea?
Okay.
You're like that student that's in the front row.
I asked
Wants to
before.
move to the back row.
I was like, can I go last? No, I think creating more spaces, more schools. I love our
in New Mexico, the charter sector, and how it allows for the creativity and the innovation of the passion that people bring to understanding the needs of our students and what it is and their desires. And if we can create schools and models around helping to build schools within the communities that the students come from, so that they're not having to leave their family and they don't have to leave their space to have access to high quality education. I believe that if we empower our teachers, if we create policy that allows teachers to be creative and have alternative approaches, and there's more support systems, what I would like is for more charter schools within tribal communities that allow our Native people to be in charge of their education and what they want for their students.
Okay, Alyssa?
Well, I would like to see all educational institutions come together as one cohesive unit. There is no one child, there's no one size fits all child. I mean, even one size fits all clothes are not tailored to really fit all. And so I believe all education institutions have something to offer to each type of child. And so if we can come together as a cohesive unit, because it's really about the child. It's really about educating the child and building them for a successful future. So we can all come together and put all the best stuff together and do what's right for our children.
Not one size fits all. Is that one of the reasons why you support charters, that charters are able to
Yes,
tailor? Okay.
yes, most definitely.
Okay.
Let's see. Cielo?
Well, my aspiration and my hope for the education system to come is a community that respects, empowers teacher, whether it's, financially or giving the freedom within the classroom to embed a curriculum that is not only data driven, but is also best for everyone in the classroom. And that is, administrators, that is parents, that is first and foremost, and the most important, students. Because their well-being is also extremely important. And this way we can all work towards a community and towards a goal together.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think my greatest hope is that in my next 20 years, done 20, hope to do 40, that teaching is the thing to do. There's nothing better in America you could do as a profession than choose to teach. We got a long way to go to get there. We're kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum right now, but that's all right. There was a moment, I think, during the JFK administration where the Peace Corps was the thing to do. There was a moment under Obama when teaching in the inner city was a thing to do. And these were powerful moments with a lot of energy and momentum in our space. And I'd like to see that come back. And I'd like people to leave their undergraduate degree programs or any of the post-secondary options they are pursuing and say, wow, the best thing I can do right now in my community, and I think I'm so excited to do, is to teach kids. That is my greatest hope.
Awesome.
Setting me up for failure, actually. Talking about failing.
Fail forward, baby.
Failing forward. God, David, no, we are Changemakers for a reason. And we're all going to be here saying the same thing. And my biggest thing, just like everyone that I can say, is that I just don't want this conversation to die. I think we have all been in PDs, right, where we've gotten these amazing trainings and said that our school says we're going to do them, we're going to use them, and we don't. Or we've had conversations with people around making connections, about collaborating, about networking, and we don't. And so my biggest hope is that this conversation keeps going, and that we do something with the conversation that we're having, and we don't just let it die.
Nathan?
I feel that we as educators and of charters, we need to continue to set the trend. I think that this is a moment that should be continued. to build off what we learned this week. Also, I feel like, again, continuing to build on what we already have by incorporating for others to buy into what we have and to stay true to what we believe in. Charter teachers show up every day for the whole child. I'm just a strict believer in developing the whole child. We need to continue to do that if we want to see some type of result in a positive way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're worried about going after one, I'm going after all of them. I don't want us to lose the spark. It's following what everyone up here has said. Teaching is such a powerful profession that gets so underhanded over and over again. We'll have these amazing moments, these amazing conversations, amazing trainings, and then it just fizzles out until we're ready to bring it back up again when we realize, oh, there's a problem. Let's do something. I love the school I work at. I think one city and all charter schools have a firm belief that not all children are the same. They have different needs. They have different expectations that we need to meet with them. And I think that having those kind of thoughts that we're doing this for our kids is ultimately our goal. So upping the funding for schools and teachers in general, recognizing us, let us be part of the movements that we're trying to make will set us on the right path.
The second part of that question, and just feel free to respond to it, is after saying what your hope is, how can you use your exceptionalism as a teacher to inspire your colleagues and future generations of teachers to help fulfill that hope that you have?
I'm gonna jump fast before. Just want to make sure we're clear.
There's no order in this.
Yeah, but PE is going to be first. No, I think to be able to be on this platform is amazing, and I think to be able to have a voice, right, and to be able to do what we're going to do today, right, is super, super important. And I think one of the ways that I plan to continue this is I'm going to reach out to the individuals who are here with me. That's one way to start, and share that well with my colleagues, and to share what I learned from each individual that's up here with my colleagues and with my administrators and with my curriculum director, so that way we can continue to build and create this. I call it a blockbuster. If you think about when you go into a blockbuster, you just pick out a movie, you select a genre, whatever the case may be, but why not have that for education? Why not be able to go into a place where you can find a lesson based upon what you're trying to accomplish for that any given day? So that's how I'm going to continue that. Eat that. Eat that, TV.
Before we end this, you got it out.
I believe it's important to advocate for education. The Advocacy Leadership Institute group that I'm a part of has taught teachers and parents how to get out there and just advocate and demand that our students are educated to be successful. And so I just think advocating and teaching our students how to advocate.
Excuse me, I would like to also add on. So it kind of reminds me of the quote that says, I can't change the world, but I can, it's toss a coin and create ripples in the water. And I think a great way to put into place what we hope to see is to teach, not just children, but also teach teachers. There's a lot of times where I come in extra early in the morning and I teach teachers how to use a specific program. What's the best way to go about the curriculum? They're having a challenging time with a specific student. How can we go best about it to support that student? And I think through teaching everyone in the building, not just our children, it really creates a movement for the things that we aspire to be. Be something you love and understand, right?
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I would just like to piggyback off that. I had the opportunity to speak with Ron Clark, and I asked him, I said, well, how do you get your school to be this way? What do you do, man? And he told me simply, he said, it starts with one. So if we start from one charter to the next charter to the next charter, I think that's the way we can make it happen. We are the trendsetters. We are the trendsetters of education.
And a great way that our school actually teaches teachers is we have this mentorship program. It's a mentor and a mentee where they hold some of their most strongest teachers and they have them recruit about 3 teachers that just came into the building. And we stay with those mentees throughout the entire year and we teach them the most valuable things about our school, what's the way to go around, how to go about the curriculum, how to do differentiated instruction, how to lesson plan, how to use a Promethean board. So I think through mentorship programs where teachers can partner up within their own schools and really get to know the school at a deeper level will also be a great way to.
Awesome. So
I'd
this
like
is,
to add something.
oh, yeah.
Okay, so I believe that just advocating, empowering our teachers, especially as an Indigenous teacher, we don't have a lot of teachers that are really welcome into the spaces at times. A lot of it is maybe because we're a little bit more reserved and we're quieter, we don't say much, we don't put ourselves out there. But trying to be a role model, how do we encourage those teachers to know that they have something to share? Their own story is very powerful. So getting them to build the confidence and to join networks, to learn how to grow within themselves, but also know that they are role models for our students. And so with that, I believe that just as it's been mentioned here, learning from other educators is very empowering and very impactful. So I will continue to reach out to everyone here as well as other teachers that I meet along the way.
Awesome. So I think that would be a great piece.
I don't know if Coach wants it. Let me give it a go. The question is, how can you use your exceptional gifts? I don't think we have exceptional gifts. I think to use Nathaniel's word, we have exceptional grit. There's a group of educators with exceptional grit. And the one thing we can do is stay gritty and show up every day. And what impacts the community when you see Coach in his gym every day you show up to school and know that he's a stable force in your life, no matter what instability surrounds you. That's what we can all be, is gritty change makers every day. And then get out of the way and make sure that the kids' voices and the voices of the families in our community are the stories that are being told. And amplify those voices with megaphones. Last Wednesday we celebrated our first graduating class from 2011 who are walking the stage in high school this year, and they're the keynote speakers. And they're meeting up at Howard this fall, right, 12 years later. And the things they're gonna do are gonna change the world, but how do we make sure we elevate their voice and their power and their strength and get gritty on their behalf and in service and servant to them? I think that's the work we have to do.
Awesome. You okay, Paul?
No, I'm joking. Thank you for saying that. I was just joking. But if we're talking about teaching to the whole child, but let's also teach the whole teacher, right? Make sure that's clear.
Okay. Well, let me tell you this. First of all, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. And I want to thank each and every one of you for, first of all, your exceptionalism as teachers, but the answers you provided for us today. So just let's give them a round of applause. Before I bring Nina back up, I'd just like to say I know that you have support and supporters, and I can see where your school leaders and family members are here. So I'd just like to ask those people who are supporting these excellent teachers if you would just stand so we can give you an applause. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And Nina, it's all yours.
No, and please join me in thanking George for the National Alliance team for putting this great event together. Continue the celebration throughout the year. Charter Schools Week doesn't have this 1 week. Teacher Appreciation Week doesn't just have to be this 1 week. We've heard from these amazing leaders, and I feel like I just want to be with them all the time now. So let's continue kind of the spirit of the can-do spirit, the grittiness that we talked about in order to pay it forward. And good luck today on your visits to members of Congress. Thank you all.
Yay. Class dismissed.
I'm